Welcome to Managing Students' Online Behavior, 3rd through 5th grade, Part 2, Regulation. This webinar was developed by Albuquerque Public School Behavior Support Specialists. Your presenter today is Michaela Coffin, an Albuquerque Public Schools Behavior Support Specialist with 10 years of teaching and administration experience. The purpose of this course is to provide a foundation for teachers to build a positive virtual classroom environment and help students engage in appropriate behaviors through self-regulation techniques. First, let's talk about resilience and regulation. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, or toughness, and regulation is the ability to control one's own behaviors, emotions, and thoughts. Students who are regulated, who have resilience, are able to take changes that happen and overcome them while maintaining in control of their behaviors, emotions, and thoughts. Regulation is important for several reasons. So helping students build their capacity to become or to remain self-regulated is incredibly important. First of all, regulation helps students focus on academic learning. A student who is not regulated is not going to be able to take in academic learning and process it in their brain into working short-term or long-term memory. Regulation creates space for students to build positive relationships with adults and peers. A student who's regulated, who has control of their emotions, is going to be able to build those positive relationships and overcome conflict that they may encounter with adults and peers so that they're able to maintain a good relationship. In addition, regulated students have a wider array of coping skills so that when they come in contact with challenges or things change at a moment's notice, they're able to overcome those challenges easily. Finally, regulation helps prevent dangerous and highly disruptive behaviors. Students who are regulated are less likely to have outbursts or to engage in behaviors that could put themselves or other safety into question. In this webinar, we're going to look at 5 regulation strategies that you as a teacher can utilize in your virtual or face-to-face classroom that are going to help students build not only their toolbox of coping skills, but also their ability to remain and to regain regulation. We're going to look at deep breathing, mindfulness, drumming, read alouds, and movements. The first strategy we're going to look at is breathing. Several of the activities later on also include deep breathing as part of their techniques, but it can be used on its own as well. Studies have shown that deep breathing slows the heart rate, which allows more oxygen to make its way to the brain. A more oxygenated brain signals the release of endorphins, those feel-good chemicals, which improves mood and mental focus. So simply taking several deep breaths or following a pattern of deep breathing can help the brain refocus and the body to feel more awake and the mood to be better. So for your students, there are a lot of different breathing patterns that you can use. You can pick one, you can mix it up and pick several, but some of those include 5-finger breathing, inhaling for 5 counts, holding for 3, and exhaling for 5. Just taking 5 deep breaths that make your lower abdomen expand. Figure 8 breathing, 4-7-8 breathing. All of these are very simple types of deep breathing techniques. There are many more out there that you can utilize with your students. But teaching your students how to use deep breathing to regulate their minds, their bodies, and their emotions is a great tool that they can use in class and out of class to do that. The next strategy is practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness simply means that you're being present in the moment. Our classrooms would be amazing, productive, efficient places if all of our students were present in the learning moment. So mindfulness helps train the brain to calm itself, to focus on what's happening right then and there, and that in turn calms the body and helps to limit students' impulsivity. So here's some ways to integrate mindfulness as well as some resources. Simply, you could start each of your virtual meetings with a couple minutes of guided mindfulness. Either you as the teacher can guide it, or you can use a mindfulness app and guiding your students through some deep breathing, through focusing on the moment, teaching them that it's okay for their minds to wander, but to refocus that gently is going to be incredibly beneficial. You can practice mindfulness halfway through a lesson. This might help students refocus, calm themselves, especially after a time maybe where your lesson was super exciting and students were very engaged but very loud and discussing a lot. Or you can end each lesson with mindfulness. This calms the brain and gets them ready to go on to the next activity outside of your virtual meeting if you have one. Some good resources for practicing mindfulness are mindful.org. There are a couple of apps, Insight Timer, Stop, Breathe, and Think. And the UC San Diego Center for Mindfulness has some really great readings and resources on how to incorporate mindfulness into your life and into your classroom. The next strategy is drumming. So drumming is a self-soothing activity that helps students in somatosensory regulation or self-soothing. Drumming is an activity that's patterned, rhythmic, and repetitive. And studies have shown that activities that have these three components are a great way for the brain to kind of reset. Other activities similar to drumming are swinging, rocking, clapping, blowing bubbles. And if you think about a baby, babies are soothed by swinging, by rocking, things that are patterned, rhythmic, and repetitive. So our students, even those in upper elementary and 3rd through 5th grade, need that same kind of help when having to self-soothe. And drumming is a fun, great way to do that. So when you're drumming with your students to help them refocus and to regulate their bodies, you can either do it by sitting or standing. Make sure everybody's ready and focused and prepared, and that you've told them what your expectations for this are. You'll begin by having students following your drumming pattern as you alternate between tapping either on a table or your legs with your left and right hands. And you'll tap out a pattern. For example, left, right, left, right, right, etc. You can switch it up, do different patterns. You can increase and decrease the speed of your drumming. Whatever you do it for 1 to 2 minutes. And soon you'll start to see your students relax, calm their bodies, laugh, smile. This is also a great way if you have students who become easily frustrated. This is a great way to get their mind off that frustration and refocus to handle those challenges. The next strategy we do as teachers frequently, but reading aloud is a great regulation tool. Listening to someone read helps students and even adults regulate their bodies and emotions. Listening to someone read is a patterned, rhythmic, repetitive thing. It's also a great way to strengthen relationships, explore challenging topics, and discuss complex emotions. So even our students in 3rd through 5th grade, they benefit from reading aloud, not just academically, where you're modeling fluency and pronunciation and things like that for them, but it's also a great way to help them regulate their bodies. So in the virtual classroom, a couple great options. You could read the book in your virtual meeting. You could assign a read aloud that you find on YouTube and then have the class discuss it during a virtual meeting so that they're listening to things outside of class as well. Or you could choose to have a different student do a read aloud from a book that they have at home. That way they can share a favorite book with you. They're getting the reading practice and the rest of the class is taking in that opportunity to self-regulate. And finally, movement. Movement and activity can help make changes in and provide balance of hormone levels, moods, and metabolic processes. All of this is happening in the brain, And all of those changes to hormones and to endorphins helps the brain regulate emotion and how the body is feeling. So this helps students regulate their emotions and their impulsivity. Trying a structure of 8 to 10 minutes of lesson activity and 2 minutes of a regulatory movement or activity has shown to be incredibly beneficial, especially for students at this age group. Activities like Go Noodle, stretching and yoga that involves crossing the midline of the body, dancing to different types of music, charades, jumping jacks, jogging in place, and high knees are all great examples of movements that are simple, but that are going to help students regulate their bodies, their emotions, and it's going to provide them a coping skill for when things are frustrating. Finally, if you are an educator in New Mexico or even in another state that has a mandatory reporting law, we just want to remind you that in the event that you see anything of concern where you would suspect that a student is being abused or neglected, you need to be reporting your suspicion or your concern to CYFD. For guidance, talk to your administrators about anything that you may have questions about. As behavior support specialists, we're here to support teachers. We can help if you have a student who's making it difficult to teach, have class-wide behavioral issues, need professional development, or have specific questions about strategies or engagement, or if you just want to brainstorm new approaches to your behavior in your classroom. We can offer assistance in a variety of ways, like setting up a one-on-one or small group Google Meet to discuss needs. We can sit in and observe online with our camera and mics off and provide feedback to you. We can discuss methods, provide resources, or talk even over the phone. For those of you within Albuquerque Public Schools, you can submit a TLN ticket request to meet with us. You can utilize our email at bss@aps.edu. You could also sign up for BSS updates and newsletters, and those links are on Twitter and our website. If you're outside of APS and you would still like to interact with us or ask questions, you can engage with us on Twitter at APS BSS Team or through our website at sites.google.com/aps.edu/BSS APS.